Welcome friends, in this video let's learn about wetland ecosystem, its important characteristics and its ecological functions, and why the wetlands are depleting these days, and what are the mitigation measures that can be employed to prevent the depletion of wetlands. First, the definition. A wetland is an area that is saturated with water either permanently or seasonally, such that it takes on the characteristics of a distinct ecosystem. So wetland is a land area that is saturated with water, okay, that is saturated with water either permanently or temporarily, that is seasonally. So this is considered as a wetland if it has a characteristic distinct ecosystem. So this wetland is an intermediate stage between the deep water ecosystem, that is rivers and oceans, and the terrestrial habitat. So this is a type of ecotone, okay, ecotone. And this wetland has a distinct habitat experience of periodic flooding from the adjacent deep water habitat, that is rivers or oceans. So this periodic flooding and waterlogging condition will provide habitat for a distinct kind of plants and animal species that are adapted to shallow flooding. Okay, this is important characteristics of wetlands, and the important wetlands includes lake littorals, floodplains, marshy swamps, bogs, fens, mangroves, and coral reefs are all important wetlands. Here, the lake littoral is the marginal area between the highest and the lowest level of lakes. Okay, if this is the highest level of lake and this is the lowest level of lake, okay, and this is the lake littoral. Okay, this is the marshy land, and the floodplain are the areas lying adjacent to the river channel beyond the natural use. If this is the if this is the river stream, the adjacent area beyond the natural use. Natural use means elevated portion of the river bank, and this is the area of floodplains. Here, this is also considered as wetlands. So the definition given by the Ramsar Convention is important. Okay, if you memorize this whole definition, that would be very beneficial while writing the answers in the examination. So the definition of the wetland given by the Ramsar Convention is that wetlands are, it is a broad, very broad definition. It includes a very broad range of ecosystems, aquatic ecosystem into wetlands. Okay, let's look at it. Wetlands are the areas of marsh, fen, peatland or water, whether natural or artificial. Okay, it may be natural or artificial, permanent or temporary, with water that is static or flowing. Okay, static or flowing, fresh, brackish or salt. Okay, it may be fresh water, brackish water or salty water, including areas of marine water. Okay, in areas of marine water, the depth of which at low tide does not exceed 6 meters. So if the marine water, the depth, if it exceeds more than 6 meters, that is not considered as wetland. Okay, and here this is a broadest definition for the wetlands, because it includes both natural as well as artificial ecosystem. It includes both permanent or temporary source of water and static or flowing water, fresh water or brackish or salt water. Okay, this is very broadest definition, please remember this one. And the important characteristics of wetland include: these are covered by water and has waterlogged soil for at least 7 days during the growing season. Okay, waterlogged soil should be there for at least 7 days during the present during any growing season. So it has a distinct adapted plant life, that is flora. These are called hydrophytes. These are adapted to the waterlogged conditions of the wetlands. Okay, and the soils are hydric soils, and these soils do not have enough oxygen for supporting certain kinds of plants. Very distinct kind of plants are living in these wetlands. These are called hydrophytes. The soil is called hydric soil. So this is the characteristics of wetlands, and we can classify the wetlands in its broadest terms into inland wetlands, that is the freshwater wetlands, and coastal wetlands. In the inland, we have lakes, ponds, oxbow lakes, waterlogged soils, and seasonal wetlands, and swamp and marshes. So under this inland itself, we can classify into man-made wetlands. Man-made wetlands include reservoirs, tanks, waterlogged soils like paddy fields, ash pond, and these are all the man-made sources. This is the natural source. Under the coastal wetlands, we have estuaries, okay, lagoon, creek, backwater, bay, coral reef, tidal flat, mangrove, and salt marshes. Here, the important wetlands include the mangroves and the coral reefs. This has a very significant. These have a very significant ecological functions. Under coastland wetland itself, we can classify another classification based on the man-made wetlands here also. So here the salt pans, okay, for the production of salt in the oceanic areas, and aquaculture are also considered as wetlands, which are man-made. So this is the broadest definition of wetlands and classification. And wetland is very important from the ecological point of view because they have various diverse ecological functions. If we lose wetland, it is creating instability and volatility in the ecosystem. Okay, so certain important functions of wetlands include it acts as a habitat for various aquatic flora and fauna. So it supports various aquatic flora, fauna, and birds. Here, most migrating birds come to Indian wetlands for the distinct habitat. Okay, and this is important. And the second function is that it filters the sediments and nutrients from the surface water. Okay, it filters the sediments and nutrients. For example, here, if consider this as a wetland, and this is the water body or river or ocean. Okay, if the surface water runoff, that is soil erosion, carries various nutrients and other sediments into the water body, so it filters, this wetland filters the nutrients and other sediments and gives away only the pure water, mostly pure water, into the water bodies. So thereby it acts as a natural filtering agent for the water body. So it also in another way prevents eutrophication of the water bodies, because all the nutrients are filtered here itself, thereby providing clean water to the water body. And it acts as a nutrient cycling body. Okay, and it also aids in water purification. So this similar philosophy here. And it prevents flood mitigation. We have wetlands called mangroves also in the oceanic areas. Okay, ocean and river basins, and this prevents it aids in flood mitigation. If there is a flood, excessive flood, it acts as a barrier for water, and it protects the area behind this wetland. Okay, destruction of mangroves in the India is causing severe flood because it previously it is acting as a barrier, but it has been destroyed in most of the places. So serious flood situation is happening in India. So it helps in maintenance of stream flow. So it acts as a buffer, and it also helping in groundwater recharge, because most of the time water is stagnant in the wetlands. So it helps in percolation of the water into the groundwater, and it helps in the groundwater recharge, and it provides drinking water, fish, fodder, and fuel to the adjacent community. Okay, and it also helps in control the rate of runoff in the urban areas, and it acts as a buffer shoreline against the erosion. It acts as a buffer against the erosion in the shoreline. Okay, and it has important function, including it helps in tourism development, recreation, and it acts as a cultural heritage. For example, Chilika Lake, Koleru Lake, Ullar Lake, these are all important tourist attractions. So this is also important function of the wetland, and it also stabilizes the local climate, because the large water body can stabilize the environment fluctuations. Okay, and it provides stable climate to the area that is adjacent to the wetland. So these are all the important functions of the wetlands. So these are very significant. So we have to protect the wetlands which are present in our areas. So this diagrammatical representation will tell you the benefits of wetland. Here it acts as a filtering agent for sediments, pollutants, and nutrients. This is the wetland, and it filters the water and gives the clean water to the water bodies. So thereby the drinking water quality will be good in these water bodies. Okay, and and all other functions are done by these wetlands. So there are various reasons, for various reasons these wetlands are being depleted. Okay, there are various reasons. These include the conversion of land, that is wetland, for agricultural purposes. Okay, because of the encroachment of the wetland for agricultural purposes, these are being depleted. So we should prevent this exercise. And overgrazing of the cattle, and this is also causing for the depletion of the wetlands. And removal of sand from the beds, that is sand mafia here, which is very much prevalent in India. So removal of the sand from the wetlands will destabilize the ecosystem, and then it finally degenerates the wetland itself. So this should be protected in order to protect our ecosystem. And aquaculture, that is artificial culture of the fishes. So for this purpose the wetlands are being destroyed. Okay, and the habitat destruction and deforestation are the obvious examples. And the use of pollution from the agricultural runoff, that is use of pesticides, fungicides in the agriculture, and industrial effluents, these are also contribute to the depletion. And the domestic waste are being dumped in the wetland areas, because these are all already the swampy marshy areas. So these are all the areas, no man's land, they can dump anything near the wetlands. So this is one of the reason. And agricultural runoff, industrial effluents are also causing a threat to the wetlands. And climate change is another culprit here. So these are all the reasons for the depletion of wetlands in India. And how do we mitigate the wetland destruction? So we should survey and demarcate the areas important wetlands. So we should protect in the later time. Here the National Wetland Conservation Program of Government of India is doing this work of survey and demarcation and protection of natural regeneration. If we protect the natural regeneration, it will self-sustain itself and grow as a self-sustaining body, these wetlands. And by employing artificial regeneration, for example, by planting mangrove seedlings nearby oceanic belts, this creates wetlands here itself by providing artificial regeneration of mangrove. Okay, and afforestation, weed control, wildlife conservation, removal of encroachments, that is agricultural encroachment or industrial effluents, and eutrophication abatement techniques like preventing runoff of agricultural nutrients into the water bodies. Okay, and use of judicious methods for fertilizer application in the agricultural operation. These are all the important techniques we can mitigate the wetland destruction. So, and also creating environmental awareness is another thing. So every year on the 2nd of February, World Wetland Day is celebrated. Okay, this is celebrated to mark the date of signing of Ramsar Convention, that is Convention on Wetland. Okay, in 2nd February 1971. This Ramsar is situated in Iran. Okay, and Ramsar Convention is a convention to protect wetlands throughout the world. So thanks for watching. For previous videos, click here. It will redirect you to that. Thank you.